Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing well. Okay, so this is part 2 of the book box series. I guess we're calling it a book box. I wanted to show you real quickly how some of my covers are coming out. This is, I've sprayed these with a clear coat, so that sealed up my my crackle paste, and you know, I didn't do a real heavy coat of the clear coat on here, but I just wanted you to see how this became semi-transparent. The you know, the copy paper, it's basically like tissue paper. Anyway, that kind of changed after I sprayed it. It got more transparent, and then it just definitely like seals the crackle paste so that so it doesn't start like chipping off, you know. You just want it to be as sturdy as possible, and that clear coat is a good way to do that. So before you spray yours, I would recommend that, you know, you go around and just kind of pick off any pieces that you think are really chunky or that are going to come off later or be weird, you know. So just try to make sure that you don't have any big chunks of crackle paste. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so I just wanted you to see kind of how those turned out after I sprayed them. Okay, and it also kind of enhances the color, I think, of the marbled paper on these covers. So yeah, anyway. Okay, so I said that on the next video we would talk about how to make the cover for your box. I hope you guys are following me as far as like how to change the size of your boxes that go on the inside of these covers. You know, you could make these any size you want. They don't have to be the same size as what I'm making. I just wanted mine to have about 1 inch of space on the inside of the cover, and then about 1/4 of an inch around the border, but it doesn't have to be exactly 1/4 of an inch. Like, you could make it, you know, to fit your, keep it simple, like, you know, as far as measurements, like, I mean, mine just worked out to be 8 inches because my book cover is 8.5 tall, you know. So, but if it was like some weird measurement, like 7 3/8 or something, then I would just call it something round. Like, you know, maybe I would call my box, like, I would make it like 6 inches just to keep it simple, or 6.5 inches, because then you would just add 1/2 inch all the way around, or 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches all the way around. Oh, it's getting confusing and complicated now. But anyway, you just want to make sure that you have the base of your box, whatever size you need it to be, and then you're going to add 1.5 inches on all 4 sides, or 3/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. So it works out to be 1.5 inches in height and 1.5 inches in width, because that's how tall our box is going to be. It's going to be 3/4 of an inch tall. Oh my gosh. Okay, I already went through this, so I don't know why I'm saying it all over again. But so then, as far as making the cover or the lid for the box, what you want is some kind of heavy paper. It doesn't have to be chipboard, although you could use chipboard if you want to. I'm just using craft paper. It's like heavy duty craft paper. It's real strong. It's the one that you can get at Hobby Lobby. But you could also use like a file folder or something like that that's, you know, pretty heavy. Or you could even just use really heavy scrapbook paper. Like that 49 and Market paper is pretty thick, so you could use that too. But anyway, so basically what you want to do is you want to lay out your box, and we'll figure out exactly how wide it is and how tall it is. Okay, and then you're going to add 1/2 inch for each side. Okay, so the easiest way to do that is to measure in a 1/2 inch. And I have my measurements all worked out, but I'm trying to help you guys in figuring out your measurements. So the easiest thing to do is to measure a 1/2 inch on 2 different sides. Okay, 1/2 inch there, 1/2 inch here. 1/2 inch there, and then I'm gonna draw that line, and that line, and then I'm gonna line my box up with those lines, okay, and then I'm gonna trace this on this side and on this side, and then I'm going to measure out another 1/2 inch for this side, there and there, and then I'll draw in this line. And this is how you can be sure to get your, to get a 1/2 inch border all the way around your box. Okay. I know it looks kind of weird, but it's just the way my mind works. Like, that's a way that I can think of to make this any size you want, you know, so you don't have to necessarily make anything a specific size, as long as you have a 1/2 inch on each side of your lid. Because this is we're gonna be cutting corners out of this, and it's gonna turn into a lid like that. Okay. And I just thought it would be easier if I could just kind of show you guys another way of determining your edges. Okay. Anyway, so then I'm just gonna score. What I'm saying probably makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, so I'm just gonna score at a 1/2 inch all the way around my lid. Whoops. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Come on. Okay. So once I have my lid scored on all 4 sides, on one of the long sides, I'm going to cut out this corner, but I'm going to angle this right up to the corner there, and then I'm angling it just a little bit on those 2 sides and cutting off this corner. Okay, that's important that you do a little bit of an angle there, because this is the side that's going to be our hinge. And then I'm going to cut this corner out using my score lines as my guide. Okay. So then I'm going to really, I want to kind of loosen this up a little bit, because I want this hinged side to be really flexible. So I'm just scoring it and you know, bone foldering it back and forth both ways just to make sure that it's really flexible. Okay. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I want to have some kind of decorative paper on the top, and then I'm probably going to add some kind of a pocket or an envelope or something like that on the top of my box. And I'm also going to add something on the inside of the lid too. So let me show you what I'm thinking I'm going to do. So before I, tape up the corners or glue the corners together, I wanted to do some stitching with the sewing machine. So, it does require a little bit of planning, right, to figure out exactly how you want to put this thing together. But so this one is actually going to be on the back cover because my hinge is over here. So it's going to be like this. So I just took a piece of paper, cut it slightly smaller than the top of my box. Okay, you can see my little score marks there. And then inked around it. I just glued it down in the very center of the paper and then stitched around the edges. Okay, and that's going to make my lid a little bit more sturdy without adding a lot of bulk around the frame of the lid. Okay, just by adding that extra piece of paper there. And then on the inside of my lid, it's important that you keep this keep it oriented the way that it is actually going to wind up being, so that you don't put your pockets on upside down or whatever, because you're going to have two boxes, right? One on this side and one on this side. So this one I know is the one that goes on the back cover because of where the hinge is. I want my hinges to be at the edges of the book. Okay, and also the writing on this paper is going the right direction, so that's kind of how I know which direction it goes. Anyway, so I'm just going to flip it over, and then what I thought I would do is just take another piece of some kind of decorative paper, and you could use any kind of paper. It doesn't have to be scrapbook paper. It could even just be book paper or whatever. Just going to ink around the edges. I've been really doing a lot of inking on this project just because I kind of haven't done that for a long time on any of my journals. And I don't know. I think after seeing all these journals that I've been selling recently, it's kind of inspiring me to maybe grunge things up a little bit more than I have been. Anyway, so I'm inking that up, and then I'm just going to attach this little paper bag onto there. Oh, but first, hold on. Hold the phone. I'm going to go around. I just want to add some stitching around the border of that little pocket. Okay, I cut this out with a die. I don't remember who made the die, but it might be Tim Holtz, I don't know. But I kind of don't think it is. Anyway, so I'm just doing a straight stitch. And it's embossed with a straight stitch anyway, but I just wanted to add real stitching on there. Just right around the border. Can you guys see what I'm doing? And then I'm just going to glue this down onto this paper bag. gonna add glue. And this thing does have like a faux machine stitch embossing around the border, so the actual machine stitching looks a little weird on it, but that's okay. All right, see, I couldn't stitch this onto here because obviously then that would ruin this pocket, so I just did the stitching on there just for decorative purposes. Okay, so that's on there, and then I'm going to glue this guy onto here, but I'm only going to glue it, actually, I think what I'll do is I'm going to stitch it, but I'm only going to stitch it on two sides, and I'm not going to glue it at all. I'm just going to stitch it on with the sewing machine. I'm going to use a zigzag just to be sure that I get it pretty sturdy. I wanted to do some stitching around the border of this paper anyway, so this is working out perfect. And then I'm just going to back stitch a little bit right on the edge of that pocket, so that I make sure that it's real sturdy. Okay. Okay, so here's what we did. So basically, this is a little bit of a pocket, then we have a pocket here, and then we have these little slots where we can insert little pieces of ephemera and that kind of thing. And then this, I'm just going to glue down, and since I did the stitching all the way around the border, it's going to kind of look like how this one does, except for this one I actually did stitch onto that paper. Okay. So let me glue this down. I want to make sure I glue it down really well. So I'm going kind of heavy on the glue, especially around the edges. And then just a little bit on the inside there. Make sure that I'm covering up that other stitching, make sure it's straight and it's inside the border. It's kind of hard to get things to lay down when you have that stitching on there. It's kind of hard to get the glue to grab, so I just use my bone folder, use the kind of rounded part of my bone folder, and just massage it in there. And then, because it's me, I go back with my baby wipe and clean off any excess glue from around the border. There's nothing that I hate more, I guess. I don't like to say I hate stuff, but I do have some pet peeves, and one of my biggest pet peeves when I look at like paper crafts is when I can see glue everywhere. It just drives me nuts. Okay, so then this one I haven't actually folded this and creased it like I should have. You really want this hinged side to be really flexible, so fold it back and forth a few times and crease it down pretty firmly. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm gonna fold my top and bottom in at the score line, and then my side in. Now you could leave a little, you could use the like if you want to, you can just cut, before you cut out that whole square, you could just cut one side, and then you would have like a little tab right here that you could actually use to glue that together. But I didn't want there to be any kind of raw edge on the inside or on the outside of my boxes, so I just cut that whole thing out. And then I'm using the I'm using this packing tape for my corners. Okay, so I'm just cutting some little strips. This stuff is incredibly strong. You'd be surprised at how strong the glue is on this stuff. So I just lay it on a little rag or a little cloth or something, and then spray it with some water. And then stick it on one side. Put this together, make sure it's really lined up well, and then stick it down on the other corner. Same thing with this one. Of course, if you don't have this, you know, this packing tape, you can definitely just use glue and a piece of paper, or you know, washi tape or something like that. But I would definitely use, if you're going to use washi tape for your corner, I would definitely add glue. Like, don't just rely on the washi tape adhesive, because it's just not that strong. Okay, so this goes like that. And then so on the inside of this box, I've got these little pockets where I can tuck in little pieces. So I think that looks kind of cool. And then find one of my boxes where that everything orientates correctly. Like I want to make sure that the book pages are the right side up, you know, because I did make the boxes where some were one direction and some were the other. So anyway, okay, so then we're just going to glue, our tab on to the correct side. And I do go kind of heavy on the glue, right, especially at the edges there, and right along that where it bends. You want to make sure you get plenty of glue on there. Okay, and then I lay it on the box just to make sure that, you know, I'm doing it straight. Move that down, and then press it from the inside. Clean up any glue that kind of squishes out. Clean up any glue that's on the outside. Okay. So that looks pretty good. And it's really stable, you know. And this doesn't fit like extremely tight on here. I do kind of bend these in just a little bit, and you know, so that they look pretty well fitted, you know. But I do have a little bit of a gap between my box and the lid, and I want that because I don't want to have to be fighting with it all the time, you know, to make sure that it closes correctly. So So that makes it fit really nicely. And that extra added weight of the material or the paper that we glued onto the inside and that we stitched on the top, it does make it really sturdy, like, and real stable. And it gives a little bit of weight too, so that it'll actually just, you know, close on its own. So I am going to be adding a closure on these two, and I'm going to try to use a magnet somehow, like I think I said that before, just, you know, to make sure that it actually stays closed. But this is the side where I'm going to be inserting a little journal, I think. I don't know if I'm going to put the little journal in the front box, in the back box, or in the front box. Maybe in the front box. Maybe makes sense to put it in the one on the inside front cover. So anyway, but that's how I basically put these together. And then you know, I'll ink it all up all around everywhere where I want to ink it up, and then I'm going to go around on the edges of this box. I'll just show you real quick. I'm using washi tape. I am going to use washi tape around the edges of this box. So what I've been using is one of these little Zig glue pens, and I'm going to start my washi tape around on this corner. You could just use, you know, obviously you can use whatever you want, but you could just use a glue stick or something like that, but I have these glue pens, so I just want to use them. Okay, so this washi tape happens to be 3/4 of an inch wide, which works out nicely. But you could use any washi tape that you have and then just fold it over to the back if you need to when you're all done. This glue is actually pretty good in these little pens. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out these glue pens. They're pretty cool. They come in a pack of, you can get a pack of 3 where you get 3 different sizes. And I especially like the little ballpoint pen one, and I'll show you why here in a second. Anyway, so I'm just gluing, especially making sure that it's glued at the top and at the bottom. Make sure this lines up really nicely. I don't want the washi tape sticking up over the top edge of my box. There we go. Just kind of smooth it down. I just love gluing paper and cutting paper. It's just like one of my very favorite things to do in life. Kind of have to work around your lid. Okay, now I can close the lid and finish it up at the back. And this will cover up the hinge, and it's covering up all of those corners. I'm just kind of cleaning it up, making it look, makes it look nice, I think. Okay. So then up to my edge where I started. Okay. Make sure that's all smoothed down. Now, right along this bottom edge here, where when I was making the box originally, I've got this little, there's this little gap. See right there where the chipboard bends up? There's this like 90-degree angle right there. So I want my washi tape to actually get glued down into that edge. And that's when I'm using this little ballpoint. It's like a little ballpoint pen, glue pen. And I mean, like I said, you know, I know not everybody is going to have this, but these work really well for these kinds of situations, right? Where I just want to glue that down right into that. See, I just glued that down right into that little gap. It just works really nicely. It fits in there perfect. Just using my fingernail to kind of push the washi tape down in there. This kind of makes it look, I don't know, professional or something. But it's nice when you're making things like this to use measurements that are kind of common, like, you know, like 3/4 of an inch or a 1/2 an inch or something like that, because you know, like this washi tape is 3/4 of an inch wide. So it just makes things a little bit easier on yourself when you make things in kind of like regular increments, regular measurements, rather than, you know, like 7/8 of an inch or whatever, or 3/16 of an inch. It just makes life a little bit easier. Anyway, so there's that box. Pretty much finished, except for I do want to ink it up and kind of grunge it up a little bit, and then I need to decide what I want to put on the top of this box. I made some little envelopes just with the envelope maker, you know, and those will fit. Those would fit on here too. So I don't know, I might just attach one of these on the front of these boxes. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I also made some bigger ones that fit on there too, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to use those or not. I made all the envelopes, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do with them. And then there's also the collapsible box envelopes that that Eva made, and I can't really show you guys how to make those because they're kind of, you know, it's a tutorial only through her Patreon, and I don't want to, you know, violate that in any way. So I can't really show you guys how to make those, but if you are a subscriber of hers and if you support Eva, I'm talking about the Bohemian Crafter, if you support her on Patreon, you should be able to find the tutorial that I'm talking about. Now, okay, I promised you guys that I would show you about the little pencil boxes, and you could make these for a journal, or you could just make them just to have a cute little pencil box, whatever you know, whatever use you can think of. So let me show you how I made these. It's basically the same construction as the other boxes, as these boxes, but they're a little bit thinner. They're not as thick. So we'll need a piece of chipboard, like a lightweight piece of chipboard. This is obviously off of like a pad of paper, like a notebook or something. So I already have my measurements already figured out. So whatever size you want to make yours, do that. But for me, for these spines, which I'm making a 2-inch spine on my book, and you know, whatever size you're making, you'll just have to kind of do the math and figure out what size to make the base of your box. These I'm going to cut 9 by 2 3/4 inches. Okay, so and that's going to fit the spines of the books that I'm making. Okay, so I need to cut this 9 by 2 3/4 inches. Okay, and then I need a little piece of scrapbook paper cut to the same dimensions. So 9 by 2 3/4 inches. I need a new paper trimmer. This one is falling apart, literally. Okay. And then I'm going to glue that scrapbook paper onto my chipboard. And I really want to make sure and glue it really well up to the edges. Got to get it glued really well all the way up to the edge. Be generous with your glue on this one, because this is going to get bent and folded and stuff, so we got to make sure that it's kind of sticking everywhere. Okay, and then I'm going to burnish this down really well all along the edges. Okay, and then use my cloth, my damp cloth, to clean up any glue along these edges that kind of got squished out. Got to trim that end a little bit. Okay, and then again with the rotary trimmer, we're going to be scoring on, this is the inside of the box, okay? This paper is the inside of the box. So on the back, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch on all 4 sides, okay? So line this up on 1/2 inch. And since this is really pretty thin chipboard, I really need to do it lightly, like, because I don't want to cut all the way through that scrapbook paper that's on the inside of my box. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess. And I'm going to check it and make sure that I actually scored it a little bit. So I think it needs just a little bit more. Just take your time and don't press hard on the wheel when you're doing this. Just be, yeah, see, I cut through it. But, I mean, it's okay. I can fix it with some tape. But you just have to be really, like, gentle with it. Especially when you're doing these little short ends for some reason. Yeah, that's good. If you can bend it and, like, you can, I mean, you can bend it a little bit and see that you actually scored through it, you know? But like I said, it's, you know, you only want to go, like, just ever so slightly into it, enough for you to be able to bend it and not cut through it, and then you're going to be folding it up, and that paper that you glued in is what's going to be holding it all together. So I just need to add a little bit of repair tape on there, on that edge. I'm just going to use, actually, I'm going to use this tape. This is just page repair tape that you can buy on Amazon. It's really thin tape, and it's really hard to separate from the backing. There we go. But it's pretty strong. It's almost like onion skin paper or something. But it's like really, really transparent. See, like you can hardly even see it on there. It's made to where you can put this tape over like text on a page. Did I do the wrong side? Yes, I did the wrong side. Oh my God. Did the wrong side, guys. Hang on. Oh, and it's so hard to get off the backing. Okay, there we go. Make sure I do it on the right side this time. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to cut these little corners out. Okay, and then we're going to fold these in. We're going to fold it all the way down just to make sure that our box is going to be square. Okay, and then I'm using this packing tape again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get my little cloth. And I just spray 2 at a time so they don't dry out. Press it down on one side and then put my corner together and fold it over. And it actually glues pretty quickly too. You want to try to make sure you don't actually get your fingers on the sticky side too much, because it'll actually like pull the stickiness off pretty easily. So try not to handle the sticky side too much. You could actually wet the box instead of the tape if you wanted to, but the box, the chipboard has a tendency to just really suck in the moisture, so I think it's better to actually wet the tape first. And seal my corners up. So that's a pretty sturdy little box, just, you know, already by itself. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to make a lid. So same thing in making the lid for the little box as we did for the big box. So this is about 1 7/8. Okay, so we're going to be scoring our lid, the edges of our lid, 1/2 inch. Okay, so, well, 3/8 of an inch on one side and a 1/2 inch on the other side. So for this size box, what you want to measure your box to is 9 by 2 3/4, and then we have 1/2 inch sides. And then the lid for the spine box, we're gonna cut our craft paper, our heavy craft paper, to the same dimensions that we cut the box. So 9 by 2 3/4 inches. Okay, so that's cut the same exact dimensions. And then instead of scoring the same all the way around, we're going to score one of the long sides where it's going to be your hinge, which I want that to be on the left hand side of my box. So if this is glued down onto the spine of my book, I want my hinge to be on that side. So the hinge side, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch. Okay. And then the other 3 sides, we're going to score at 3/8 of an inch. So a little bit narrower than the spine side. Okay. So then we're going to crease this up, make sure that this is really flexible, just like we did on the big box. Make sure this is nice and like flimsy, you know, because you want this box to open easily and you want it to close easily. Okay, so there's our spine. And then what I'm doing is I'm just taking, because I had all these strips, these like offcuts of all this paper that were just kind of sitting here. So I wanted to use these as much as I could. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to ink around the edges of these, and then I'm going to stitch around them with just a straight stitch on the sewing machine. I'm going to go around and just do a straight stitch all the way around on that paper. And this little paper is, you know, it's just a thin strip. It was an offcut, so it's like 1.5 by just shy of 8 inches, so like 7 7/8, something like that. And it just happens to fit perfectly on the inside of my lid. Okay, and then I have some other strips that fit perfectly on the top. They're a little bit wider than that other one. These ones are 1 3/4 and the same length, so 7 7/8, slightly longer than 7/8. And those will go on the top of my lid. Okay, so again, I'm going to ink these, and then I'm just going to stitch them, just a straight stitch, and then these are just going to get glued onto that lid. I'm not going to actually stitch it on with the sewing machine. So that one's going to get glued there, and that one's going to get glued, whoops, and this one's going to get glued here. Okay, so that makes this lid a little bit more sturdy too, without adding a lot of bulk to the edges, you know. So this is kind of, let me show you how it kind of turns out once you get it all put together. Hold on, where did I put my boxes? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is the little strip on the inside. I just stitched around this on the sewing machine and then glued it on there, and the same with the one that goes on the top, and I just glued it on there. And then I went around the edges after I attached the lid. Then I went around the edges of this also with this happens to be fabric washi tape, and if you get the Tim Holtz fabric washi tape, it's 1 inch wide. It's 1 inch wide. Okay, so if you can cut it in half the long way, you know, you can even fold it and cut it in half. It works perfect around this box. And this tape is really, really strong, so I didn't actually glue this down. I don't have enough of this to do all of these boxes, and I don't want to buy any more, but so I'm going to use what I have of this fabric washi. I've got this roll. I don't know if this will be enough to do all my boxes, but maybe it might be. But otherwise, you can use any other like 1/2" washi tape, and that works perfect. So like some of these are the Tim Holtz washi tapes. Like these are like 1/2". They're actually a little wider than 1/2", but even if it's a little wider, you can still do that thing like I was showing you before, where you kind of just tuck that edge underneath all the way around the border, you know. But these are going to get glued down onto the spine anyway, and then I might even use some eyelets to attach them to the spine too, like maybe one in each corner or something like that, or something. I don't know. And I still haven't decided what I'm going to do as far as the cover itself, like how I'm going to assemble it. I really would like to... Man, I have boxes coming out my ears now. What I'd really like to do with these covers is somehow, when I put the spine in, I don't know if I want to make it out of paper. Like, I'm going to use some kind of heavy chipboard or something, obviously, for the center. But I don't know if I want to use paper or fabric to attach the spine on the front and back cover. I kind of want to use fabric. But like a really heavy fabric, you know, like canvas or something like that. And as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking, yeah, that probably is gonna be what I'll do. But I want to do like a lot of stitching on the sewing machine, and I just want to make the spine look kind of cool too. So so when I go to attach it to the book cover, I want to use like those paper fasteners, you know, those brass paper fasteners, and to kind of make it look like it's riveted together, you know. But I don't really want to use eyelets because I don't really want the holes. Although that might be kind of cool, because then I could like lace something through the holes or something like that. I don't know. I might just use brads to attach that. Like, I glue it obviously, but then I want to use something else, some sort of hardware, you know, to attach to kind of like fasten it down, you know, to make it look like it's fastened down, sort of steampunky, if you know what I mean, on the front and the back. So anyway, and then I have these old yardsticks that came from a paint store, and I was thinking it would be really cool to I wanted to cut these apart and use them in some kind of project for a long time. I've got 3 of them, so I was thinking I could cut these and somehow fasten a piece of this to the spine too, on each one of these boxes. You know, like, I think that might look kind of neat just on the spine, and then maybe with some lace or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so if you guys have any ideas about that, that would be great. I'd love to get your feedback on, you know, about making the spine and actually building this thing and putting it together. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. But I'm not gonna attach my boxes or anything until I've got the whole thing engineered, and I've got my spine built. So my spine needs to be at least wide enough to accommodate the pencil box. And then obviously it has to have enough room to where the book will close easily. You know, like it's going to have to close with that in there. So it's going to need a little bit of space. And then it'll be, you know, 2 of these boxes in here like this. So, and I thought if I'm going to add like an envelope or any other kind of decorative stuff on the tops of these boxes, then I need a tiny bit of room for that. So it's really going to kind of come together like this, you know, like that. Anyway, yeah, so that's as far as I've gotten. But I have to really stay organized because I just hate it when I make something and like I put the hinge on the wrong side, or, you know, I glued something in upside down or whatever. Like nothing upsets me more when I'm working on journals than when I make mistakes like that. So anyway, this one needs to get inked, and then yeah, I thought it might be kind of cool to use hitch posts on these somehow, to like maybe put a hitch post on the outside spine, which would actually wind up being at the front of the book, with like a piece of elastic to just close the book up, to close the lid, and just, you know, hook it onto a little hitch post right here or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But okay, so I have a whole bunch of these to do, and not sure how long it's going to take me, but I've got stacks of boxes that need their lids, and I got to get everything all up to the same point. Okay, I've got to get all these boxes up to this point. And then I feel like, including the pencil boxes, I need to finish all the pencil boxes. And then I'm going to tackle the spine and what I'm going to do about the spine and the closures, and then closures for the boxes and a closure for the journal itself. And then what kind of embellishments am I going to make for these? You know, am I going to make a bunch of tags to go in them and stuff like that? What kind of ephemera pieces I want to include? And also, I want to make a little journal that will go in, that will fit in here. Okay, so, and I think I'll probably put that in the front box. So when you open up your book, you'll have your journal in here, you'll have your pencils or pens or whatever in here, and then you'll have your little like tags and everything on this side. Okay. So, can you guys see it? It's coming together. It's going to be really cool. I just hope that I can, you know, not make too many mistakes. That's all. But yeah, see, I've got all my pencil boxes made already. I just, you know, they just need to be finished. So, I didn't want to get too far ahead before I sort of brought you guys up to speed. And, yeah, so I'm going to get reorganized, and then I will probably see you guys in a few days, because this is probably going to take me at least a couple days to get everything up to this point. Okay? Alright, if anybody has questions or comments or whatever, leave a comment and just tell me what you guys think about this, and if you're thinking, you know, if you're inspired to try to work along or make something kind of like it, you know, even if you just make the little boxes. I think they're fun. I love boxes. So anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you very soon. Okay. All right. Bye for now.